Sean, Richard, you're coming up on your 1-year anniversary. This is Dave the Nerd from Dave's Nerd Compendium. Faithful listener since episode 0, saying, man, from the zombie bears to sharks to the AI episodes, your drafts, you guys keep me in stitches daily. I just finished your More Quarters episode, and I will tell you, I almost pissed myself. That's how funny you guys are. Glad I could consider you friends and brothers, but most of all, gotta love your tagline. I say we eat the beaver! Congratulations on the year, man.
Hey, this is Christopher from Sounds Like an Earful. I wanted to wish Language of Bromance a happy 1-year anniversary, so I gave myself 5 minutes to record a song for you. Here it is. Happy birthday.
Hey, Sean. Hey, Richard. This is the Fat Man and
Timmy Nine Toes
from the Fat Man, Timmy Nine Toes Show. Congratulating you guys on an entire year of podcasting. Way to go, guys. Coming up on the 1-year anniversary. Here's luck and best of wishes for the next year all the way around. So it's been great listening to you. I've heard every episode. I've followed you all the way through, and you guys put out some really great content, and we just want to say congratulations to you.
Yes, very much.
And at that point, man, we're going to let you guys get back to another awesome show. We're just going to end this off real quick with some of my favorite and our favorite sayings from the show.
Hey, Bear.
Shut-a-la-poof.
Peace.
What's up, everybody? I am Richard.
And I'm Sean.
And we are speaking for the 53rd time. We are speaking the language of bromance.
What's up, man?
Hi.
Happy birthday. Happy Broniversary.
Happy birthday.
This is a big achievement day for us.
We're one.
We're one. This is coming out. So I know we've talked about this in a couple episodes, getting everybody prepped for this, because we've been gushing over this for, I don't know, like 52 weeks. But we are...
Wait till we get to a year.
I know. We've done this for technically 53 straight weeks. We've put out a podcast, and, this little thing we started, right at a year ago. We're still doing it, man.
I know.
How's it feel?
And really, like, it's when you say it, like, you're like, holy shit, like, there are 52. See, like, think about that, because, I mean, like, on average, we do about an hour. I mean, I think our first one was only like a half hour, but that's 52. But, I mean, some of them have gone over an hour.
Yeah.
So we have at least 52 hours of us on the internet for all to gaze upon.
Like, some people probably are just starting to listen. They haven't gone all the way back through everything. So you and I are probably going to bounce back and forth between saying 52 episodes and 53 episodes. And the reason for that is a long time ago, actually in like a different house when I recorded it, when we sat down for our first episode, we decided, hey, we're going to make this episode 0 because it's going to be a short. It's going to be like, this is us. This is all of us. And we just said it was episode 0, and
it was.
We worked our way all.
I remember where I was. I might have been in a different house. I don't know. I've recorded everywhere.
Oh yeah,
I've been all over my town.
You've been in different states.
Yes.
So I kind of thought on this episode, like, maybe we should start like our lineage. This is going to be like, if they ever write a biography of Language of Bromance, this is the episode they'll use. They'll be like, one day when Sean and Richard were snuggling on the couch, they said, hey, let's make a podcast. That's not really, okay, that's how we really came up with the idea, but, that doesn't matter.
That doesn't sound manly enough. We were outside chopping wood.
And I said, don't take from my pile. And then, about 11 months later, Joss Whedon stole my line.
Bastard.
So I guess we talk about it kind of episode 0, but we got better mics. We're better presenters now. So we take it back. I mean, years ago, you and I discussed, it's like, hey, we should do a podcast. And, we've mentioned we kind of played tennis with it. One of us would be like, hey, we should do that. And then months later, be like, oh, yeah, what about that thing? Yeah, we should do that.
Right. I think that was years before we even started it. I'd say that was at least
That was 2008,
maybe
2009. I mean, it was right
Yeah.
before I graduated college. Actually, it was probably even maybe a year or two before that because I was listening to, I had an internship and I was listening to a lot of sports radio. And you and I were starting to get into Kevin Smith, or at least I was starting to get it more into Kevin Smith. And somehow I stumbled across this idea of podcast. And I was like, well, I wonder if Kevin Smith has one. And I started listening to his podcast at like episode 6 or 7-ish. So like I was on board real early. And
Yeah.
I would probably say like episode 15 or 20 of his, I talked to you. I'm like, we should try and do something like this. Like
Yeah.
we could do this. It seems like something fun we could do.
Sad, but yeah, and really, like, think about it. Like, if we'd had done it then, like, where would we be now? Like, this would have been year what,
It would-
6?
It would have been like year 3 of like the big podcast boom. Because I think '05 is really when podcasting kind of a lot of like your big names started. Kevin Smith, I think, was
Yeah.
07-ish. But yeah, I mean, we would have been doing this for a long time. And I think a lot of it was you and I both were kind of like, well, who would listen? I think there's a person in my life that was kind of like, that's a waste of money. That's stupid. Nobody's going to listen. Why would you do that kind of thing? And I was like, yeah, you're right. We're stupid. This would be a bad idea.
It's dumb. It's a dumb thing.
But flash forward, you and I, actually, it wasn't even you and I, it was me. I was running a campaign for Dungeons and Dragons, which we've talked about before.
Right.
And you and I hadn't really been talking much for we probably would talk every, 2 or 3 months for the last year and a half, 2 years, would you say?
Yeah, it was usually like one phone call, maybe every week.
I would probably say even less, like maybe once a month, every 2 months.
Oh yeah, probably.
I mean, we talked for an hour to 2 hours at least. I mean, there were long conversations. I mean, pretty much just like any of our episodes. And what's awesome is, like, could you imagine if we recorded those, what we'd be able to go back to and listen and laugh at?
Yeah, we'd also probably cry a little.
Probably, yeah. So I'm running this campaign, and you weren't able to really come into the gaming sessions as much because you were busy with work and there's a lot of stuff going on.
True story.
And so this one night you finally show up, like 20, 30 minutes before I leave, and you and I really didn't even get to talk much at all. And like I said, this is kind of repeating episode 0, but this is an episode I think we need to touch on the history.
And I had a little tear.
And I get ready to leave because Tiffany was sick. And I was like, well, I got to get going home. And you're like, hey, Sean, how's it going? And I stop and I talk to you and, we start chit-chatting. And I'm like, man, why don't we talk more often? Like, why don't we talk more often? Like, there's no reason for us not to talk. I think this was around March or April of last year of 2014.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So I leave, and the whole time, and like seriously, the whole time I'm getting in my truck and leaving, it's like I feel like awful. Like, my best friend in the world is. I'm gonna throw this out there too. I have a little buzz going because I did a little pregame celebration. So if I start crying, I'm sorry. But so
Choke it up.
so I get in my vehicle.
I love you so much.
Sean, you're not even out of the house yet. So I get in the truck, and the whole time I'm like, why don't we talk more often? Like, why don't we hang out? I mean, I know we're an hour away, 2 hours away. It's like, this is just unacceptable. Like, you go through a life and you don't get to talk to your best friend. Like, at some point you're going to be like, fuck, I really messed up and I really should have hung out or talked to that person more often.
Oh, totally. Like, that's that. I will say, like, especially with me, like, I get caught up in the minutia of so much that, I mean, there are tons of people that have drifted in, and I think a lot of people are like that. You have people that drift in and out of your life. And I think looking back, there's a lot of people that, that you're like, why did I, because I mean, a relationship with anyone, be it a friend or whatever. Like it's a two-way street, it's and so you have no one to blame but yourself. You're like, I let that fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, it's just as easy for you to pick up the phone as it is for somebody else. And it's what's funny with this is like a lot of people that have kind of drifted out of my life in a way. They've seen what we're doing and they've actually contacted me back and be like, hey, I was listening to your show and it made me remember this story that we had back in the day. My buddy JJ, for instance, you've met JJ before, right?
Yeah.
About 2 or 3 months ago, he contacted me, he was really sparing. Like we really kind of fell way out. Like nothing bad. It's just different places. And you just kind of, 1 week comes, 2 months comes, it's like, oh yeah, I need to text this guy. I haven't talked to him in about a year. And he started listening to our show again. And he's like, hey, this is just like, when we used to hang out. And he's like, and him and I are actually going to hang out in a couple weekends. And
really,
yeah, which is pretty cool. You and I always feel like had a better relationship. I think gaming kind of kept that glue. Like gaming was our glue to really keep us tied together.
Right. It gave you an excuse to like, because I think at that time, like you had work, but you didn't really. I don't think you really had any like friends. A group of people, because you had just moved, so I don't think there was really like a group of people you hung out with.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I just pretty much worked here and came back on the weekends to hang out with you and like
so it gave you an excuse to hang out with like a group of dudes like doing something super manly like rolling dice.
Yeah, rolling dice
and
watching
elves,
watching horror movies. But yeah, so that day, I left and pretty much like the whole ride home. And I remember the exact spot on this drive back home. I'm thinking, I'm like, this is unacceptable. Like there's no reason for Richard and I not to talk more often. And then like all those discussions we ever had about doing a podcast kicked in my brain. I'm like, no, we're doing a podcast. I don't remember if I called you or I just texted you.
I think you texted me.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure I tried to find this stuff, but I couldn't find it. But from my recollection, I pretty much sent you a message like, hey, we're going to do a podcast. Whatever we need to get, I'll get it, but we're doing a podcast. Are you in?
And I made the biggest mistake of my life, and I said yes.
You're like, every fucking week I gotta talk to this guy. He makes up stories about Mr. Sparkles or zombie bears or some shit that kind of makes me giggle.
And dinosaurs on a different planet.
But so we started that up in April, and I'm like, okay, well, we need a name, we need intro music, and I started doing all this research, and, it really just sparked my fancy. I'm like, I want to do this thing with my buddy, I want to, not really like build an empire, but I want to build something that's ours, something that nobody can take away, that we can just do whatever we want with, and, it'll either be years of only us laughing at it, or maybe something will happen with it and other people will laugh.
Well, and also like this is just for me personally, but like I was a hugely creative. I like to think that I was a hugely creative person, and you get a job and you get kids and stuff like that, and I felt like that bit of me, it kind of like fell away. I let it fall away. And to sit here like week in and week out and generate something to possibly entertain, at the very least, the person I'm talking to, like it's slowly, very slowly, but slowly kind of bringing that bit of me back in a way.
Yeah, I know. Like when we first started this, I don't know what your expectations were. I had a feeling like I think we would go with this as far as we wanted to, because like I looked at all the costs and everything, because that's the one thing you look at is like, well, how much physical money is this going to cost us? And it's nothing. The hosting and the website, like it's not that much. So
yeah, I would say under $50.
Yeah, that's extreme. Like under $50 a month, and that's extreme type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like just if you felt, I mean, shit, you can record on your fucking phone.
Yeah.
So I mean, combine that with site hosting and stuff. We're talking under $20 per month.
Yeah, so we run into that. So it's like, well, there's not like any kind of, because you have that fear of like, oh, well, let's do this. But it's like, oh, this is going to be like a lot of money. And so then that just kind of instantly puts you behind the 8 ball. And you're like, well, maybe we shouldn't do this because it's too much. But no, that money wasn't really a big crutch in this. So it's like, okay, well, we can front the money for this. And, even that little bit of money is a good excuse to actually do this. Like you spend $20 on cable. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I better watch, 2 nights a week so I get my money's worth. So I knew we would at least be doing this for, in my wildest dreams, I wouldn't think we'd get 53 straight episodes. Like something would have gone wrong with recordings or, some life thing would happen. But
I will say that we have been extremely fortunate. I think that there was an episode or two, or maybe just one, where I had lost my audio, but we had a backup.
Yeah, early on. So this is kind of a how-to, I think, for if you want to start a podcast. We did it. I think most people know this. Richard and I are recording in 2 different places. And for a long time, we used Skype. And there was a couple instances where your recorder shut off or you lost your audio. But we had a Skype recording software, so I always had that running just in case my audio failed or your audio failed. We at least had a backup.
Right.
So there's a few early episodes where you can kind of see that. You can kind of be like, well, somebody's audio sounds a little bit off, and that's the reason.
Yeah, like it sounds kind of like tinny, like it's coming out through a speaker.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that was me, and I think that was why. But even then, like it was still like. Everything was still salvageable.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, at least probably after our episode 30 or so, I strongly feel like if we lost an episode, we would do all we can to record another episode because we love doing it and we love getting that stuff out there.
Oh, totally. I don't know, like if we're talking about expectations for me, I honestly still have the same expectation that I did a year ago. And that is I usually just sit here and just bullshit with you for an hour. Like the fact and I mean this. I know people think oh you're you're in it for something or something like that. Like me personally, from the bottom of my heart, the fact that there is one person anywhere that listens to this, just one, I can't wrap my head around it. And I don't know, maybe it's a low self-esteem thing, who knows, but the fact that we have listeners, and I say that plural because there's quite a bit in the many's.
You get that first retweet or you get that first somebody saying something about your show. It just completely blew my mind when that happened. I can't remember at what point it was, but somebody said something about one of our shows. And it almost made me self-conscious because it's like, oh shit, somebody's actually listening to this that isn't, me or one of my friends.
Yeah, so you're like, oh god, now should I do better? Should I do what? Oh god, it's kind of like 2 kids recording their own voices in the basement.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like the kids with the recorders is what it feels like, except back in those days. The only people that heard about it was, your friends or maybe just you.
Right.
But then when with this, we're able to put it on the internet. We're able to, have people listen to us. So we're getting that kind of following, I guess.
Yeah.
I was kind of going back through, I guess this might be jumping too far ahead, but one of our very, very first listeners is he tweeted about, we talked, I think it was episode 2 or 3. We talked about the sharks in the Mississippi River, and he kind of made a comment about it, and that's the gentleman at Davy Bridges. I just kind of looked him back up. He's been pretty much, probably I would say, Language of Bromance follower number 1. So he's been listening to us ever since we started. And when he tweeted that, it was one of the situations where oh my god, is this a bot? Is this a fake thing? Is somebody just somehow figuring out stuff?
We're getting trolled. We're getting punked.
Mom, is that you? But we have a couple of people like that have started listening to our show, and they tweet a lot of stuff. And that's been really cool. It's been something that in my wildest dreams I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I said, the fact that there's a person that's like, I like what you guys have to say. I'll sit and listen for an hour every single week.
Yeah,
and the fact that there's more than one person that does that, yeah, it's humbling, and like you said, like I can't wrap my brain around it sometimes.
Hey guys, I just started listening to the podcast and I'm loving it. Thank you for doing what you do. Please keep it up, and happy anniversary, guys.
Okay, Language of Bromance. This is Jason.
And this is Karen.
And we just want to say we're really super flattered because you guys told us that our podcast, The Walking Dead Cast, helped inspire you, and that's awesome. And we both think that you guys are tons of fun, and we like the stuff that you talk about. And you did 52 straight weeks of podcasting, which is something I've never done. Have you ever done that?
No. You think I have another podcast that I do on the side?
We think that you're braggarts, and no, I'm just kidding. We just want to congratulate you on 1 year and 52 straight weeks of podcasting. Congratulations.
And we'll be there listening for your 100th episode. So yay for you.
But I guess going forward on that, so we finally, like, on that trip home, you and I make the decision to, well, at least I, in my head, I was 100% devoted to making some kind of podcast, doing something. I don't know if you were still on the fence, or if you kind of.
I wasn't on the fence. I mean, like, I wanted to do it, but I kind of had the same things you had. I was like, I gotta buy equipment. I should buy equipment. I should, I felt like there was this whole like process of work and stuff to do in my head. One person that I really like, that it didn't really blow me away, because I mean, she's super supportive anyway. But around that time, it was around my birthday, like when we were talking about this, and for my birthday, my wife hands me these 2 boxes, and in one box was this brand new digital recorder, and in the other box was a brand spanking new microphone, like a nice microphone that I actually still use to this day. Now, I say that, I will preface that by saying, like, people that want to do this, like, you don't need all this stuff. I mean, this was, like, something my wife did for me because she's awesome. But, yeah, for my birthday, a digital recorder and a microphone. She's like, well, I know you want to do the podcast, so you should have this stuff.
Well, that's awesome, because, I mean, a lot of people talk about doing things, but, somebody handing you that is just that, like, extra kick in the ass to be like, okay, here's this stuff. I know you want to do it, so don't make any excuses. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah. I totally agree. And that's kind of how I felt. It's like, well, now I have a responsibility to use these things.
And Tiffany didn't buy me anything for this because I think I probably jumped in real quick buying everything I needed, but kind of the same thing. Like, she was completely supportive, and like, there's been people in my life, like, if I would have brought this up to them and be like, hey, I'm wanting to do this thing with Richard, it's like, well, that's going to cost way too much money. Don't do it because it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
And when, like, your wife, went out and got you these things and said, no, do this because you want to, yeah, you might be able to do something with it. It's just like anything. Odds are it's just going to be you and Sean, joking with each other for 20 years. But if you're going to have a great time doing it, go ahead and do it. And that's exactly how Tiffany was for me.
Exactly. And it's awesome.
We were definitely crying before the end of this episode. I can already tell you that.
God damn
it. When we first started, I was like, man, maybe we should have done this like in person. But it's just been like an hour and a half of us blowing each other crying.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's probably good that we're at separate locations.
Probably.
See, because then you'll start crying, and they'll be like, well, if you're gonna cry, then I'm gonna cry. No, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Don't cry.
Somebody's got to be the alpha in this relationship.
So one thing I thought would be kind of neat, we used Trello, as our kind of our board to be like, okay, here's the ideas I'm thinking. Go ahead and look at them. Let me know what you think. Blah blah blah. So I thought what would be cool is to pull up like some of the names we thought we should call this podcast. And what's cool is they have the dates on here, so we can kind of see where we're at, like in a timeline, if you will.
Oh, okay.
But you talking about your wife reminded me, like, probably, I don't remember what year it was you started getting into Smodcast. I would probably say it was like year 2010-ish, maybe, because that was one of the times you said, "Hey, we should do this. We could do this."
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me in a phone call, your wife's like, "Well, what would you call the podcast?" You're like, "Well, we call it My Two Buddies, and we play the buddy song." I don't know if you recall that at all, but I know that always stuck with me. So I don't know if you have this opened up, but so just kind of a quick timeline. So on April 22nd, I made our first post on Trello of like, this is what our name should be. And I said it should be called A Waste of Time. And then, it seems like a kind of a cool name. I don't know if there's a Waste of Time podcast out there. I'm sure there is. And if anybody...
Yeah, I don't know.
If anybody is going to... this is kind of a kick in the ass thing. It's like, go ahead and make a podcast. If you wanted these names, go ahead and use them.
Yeah, take them. Go ahead. I will say, I don't know who eventually came up with the actual idea for Language of Bromance, but I think I was kind of like playing on it because Amanda always referred to you as my other wife.
Yeah.
So then then it was like, okay, well, I was like, maybe it's got to be like, something, and then I don't remember where. I honestly don't remember. I think I heard bromance somewhere.
Yeah, so I did that on April 22nd, just the first one that kind of popped in my head. On April 24th, you put 3 options up. One is the Bromance Cast, which is kind of that's the starting point. That's the seed that gets planted for you to come up with the name.
So there you go. See, now you're seeing how an idea develops.
Exactly. And so we're gonna see. So we're gonna see like how the idea gets planted, and then how I almost take a shit on it in each step, and you write the ship. So your 3 you have the Bromance Cast, Viral Audio, which I thought was pretty good, and then Geek Audio. And the next day, I come up with, well, why don't we use Bromance and Space Cast? And all you reply, and this is probably when you're like, oh, this is a terrible idea. I'm finding a different podcast partner. Because you reply back, you say, well, why are we in space? And I say, I don't know. It's it's the thing you do. It's like pigs in space.
Which actually we have an episode entitled Bros in Space.
Yeah, hell yeah, we do when we talk about Mars.
Yeah.
So, Richard, are you prepared for this? The birth of the name Language of Bromance came out on April 25th, 2014 at 1:57 p.m. That's when you threw out that name, the Language of Bromance.
Yeah, and actually, I think I might have to give credit to my wife for that one. I think she might have said it, or I said, I was like, I think it was like, I want to do something with bromance. I like the word bromance. I was like something bromance, language of bromance.
Yeah, and you quickly reply that you really like that one. You reply back in like 11 minutes that you like that one. And I was really on the fence about it. And it kind of shows because I'm like, I don't know if it was just, I mean, it's probably one of those things like we were just starting this thing up. And so, you always want to be the creative one, I guess. So I quickly threw out bromance gibberish or gibberish of bromance. But my favorite one that really just, I don't know what the hell was on my mind in this. So, don't
drink and come up with podcast names, kids.
So the other one I come up with after that is I was like, well, why don't we call it Fight the Yeti?
Oh, I forgot about that.
So you quickly reply, you're like, well, where did you come up with Fight the Yeti? And apparently, I guess when I was typing, I tried to type Yet, Y-E-T, and I started typing Y-T-Y, and I was like, oh, Yeti. There should be a good name for that. So let's see. So then we kind of like figure out which ones. Oh, this would be awesome. So this is. I'm glad we typed this stuff out because this is really going back. So a couple days later, we're still trying to figure out names, and so I say, well, why don't we call it Bear It All with Sean and Rich, or Bear It All with Rich and Sean? You know, we could have an image of a bear. Like we already have like bears in our, you know,
we have bears on the brain. I will say, I think I actually posted on my personal Facebook. I was like, hey, I've got these two ideas for the name for a podcast, and I was like, Language of Bromance is one. I think the other was
Viral Audio, I think, was the big one we were
Viral
checking out.
Audio, I think, was the other one. And like I had 50 plus comments, and all of them, like I'd say about 90% of them, maybe 95% of them were bromance.
So I don't know, it must have been a Saturday, but I was kind of going through all these ideas. So that Bear It All with Sean and Rich, or Bear It All with Rich and Sean, apparently, like, I had asked Tiffany, like, what she thought about it, and within 10 minutes, I quickly replied to you, like, oh, yeah, never mind. I asked Tiffany how that sounded, and she just replied back, gay. I love my wife. Yeah, and so, like you said, you sent a message, you're like, okay, I want to figure out, you know, a vote, and you said it was unanimous that it was Language of Bromance, which was on April 30th. So I say, all right, well, it's Language of Bromance. And I talked to so this is what I said to you. I said, well, I talked to Tiffany last night about that, and she asked, do you have a bromance? And my reply is, well, if we were both into dudes, we'd probably be married. And Tiffany replied back, well, bromance would work then, wouldn't it? Oh, shit, that's awesome. And so Language of Bromance and at Language of Bro was created.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, oh, that was just so much fun to be like, okay, you know, we need a name. It's like coming up with a band. It's like, we need a name. We need something that says this is us. And I wasn't sold on Language of Bromance at first, but, you know, after we did our first probably 3 or 4 episodes, you know, we had a logo and all that stuff. Like, it was us. Like, right now.
It does. It you know, it like, I will say that, like, it felt kind of odd saying it, but I mean, at this point now, I'm just like, yeah, it's like that's what it is. Like, why wouldn't it be that? Like, it couldn't be anything else but that. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that was kind of a fun little period because, so, you know, it's like, okay, we got our name now. It's like, all right, well, we need a logo. So what's our stuff going to be? I went to a site called freelance.com. I don't know if I've shared too much of this story with you, but I said, okay, freelance.com is basically a place where you say, okay, I need this kind of artwork, or I need this thing done.
No, yeah, you would tell me about it as you were going along with it.
Yeah, and it's, you know, people will be like, hey, I can do that for $100 or whatever. And so this company in, I think it was Pakistan, which kind of seemed odd, but like I was so excited I wanted something done. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll let you guys have this bid. And so they get us our original logo. But I say, well, can you, like, you know, give Richard's character, you know, a little bit longer hair and do this, you know, give the other character black hair. And they literally gave me back the same logos with like just black or red kind of coloring where you could still see the old hair on the bottom. So it was just terrible Photoshop, to the point where I was like, let's just roll back to what you had and we'll use that. And this was still, it's like, we just need something. You know, I can't draw. You know, you said you're not really good with drawing, so it's like,
I cannot draw. I could not draw to save my life.
But, you know, our first logo looks decent. You know, it was like, that'll get us going. You know, because it's still in my head. It's like, if this falls through, we don't keep up doing it. You know, at least it's something that got us started. You know, I didn't spend 30 hours trying to draw something, so we can go on our way.
Right.
But that gets us to our brand new logo, which brand new in the sense that we've had it probably for 8 months now.
Yeah, about that.
A gentleman I know named Scott Zyko. He does comic books. He's got his own Twitter handle. I kind of commented to him saying, hey, we're doing this podcast. We've got this logo. We just want the characters to be more cartoonish and look like us. And that was the birth of our new logo, which I absolutely love. Like it really does show what we are as people.
I agree. We're two geeks that occasionally dabble in cosplay and hang out with each other. So what?
And we have swords that we fight with. They're our own personal swords. So don't judge. Whatever.
Okay. Well, now it's getting gay. I was trying to avoid it.
If they've been listening long enough, they know. They're like, this is the coming out episode. We knew it.
I've been waiting for this for 1 year. They're finally doing it.
Hey, babe, come listen to this. These two dudes are coming out of the closet. I already knew.
You owe me $5.
Oh, man. But yeah, we just put that on some shirts recently, and I got Tiffany one of the shirts, and it's hanging up drying because I don't want it to ruin the logo at all. and so seeing that's just pretty cool because it's still it goes back to this is something we've created, and not that it's bigger than us, but it's just it's something we've done together. It's freaking awesome, and I can't express how excited I am for what we've done, and going from kind of an impersonal logo that isn't really us to a logo that encompasses everything that is us individually. Because each of those characters, in the original one was you, one was me, kind of. But with this new one that Scott did for us, it is this is Richard, this is Sean, this is what they are, and that's just awesome.
Plus, we look cool.
We do look cool,
and I have a fucking lightsaber.
You do, and I'm a turtle. So what's better than that?
Having a lightsaber.
That's true.
But I'm not. We'll make a thing. We're not fighting. You can't have the lightsaber. Don't email Scott and be like, "Oh, can I give me the lightsaber? Take it away from him."
Yeah, I'm gonna call Scott up. He's gonna fix that logo. You're not gonna have anything,
bastard. So yeah, okay. So we've got our name, we've got our equipment, we've got our logo, we've got our music, we've got I think we all the pieces are in place, and then it was okay. Now we have to actually come up with something. Now we have to create some content.
And
so
I don't know if did you go back and listen to our first couple episodes before this? I know you listened to them, but
yeah, I've listened to them. I recently, I think I listened. I went back and listened to 00, which is I think I refer to it as episode Krypton.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of hopped around through the last 52 episodes and found my moments of love.
So I guess like you said, we talked about our music a little bit, which we just kind of picked. We didn't really pick at random, but we had 4 or 5 songs that we liked, and that was the one that the one we have now is the one that we both really liked. Which I don't know about you, but whenever I hear that, I still get pretty giddy.
Yeah.
It's like the president's theme, whenever you come walking out, that's what it feels like that is for us.
Yeah. I think that I'm trying to think. Wasn't it was titled Daredevil or something?
Yeah, Daredevil.
And I was like, I like Daredevil. And this was see this is my foresight. I'm like, man, I wish, I was like Daredevil. I was like, Daredevil's cool. Because some people would be like, Daredevil's not cool, but now everybody knows that Daredevil's cool.
We made Daredevil cool before it was cool. Well, not really, but whatever.
Whatever, it works.
But yeah, so we picked our music out. That was pretty awesome. I don't remember. I think I wasn't really sold on this one, and that like the name I wasn't really sold on, and this one I wasn't really sold on. But Tiffany talked me into both of those as well as you. She's like, "Yeah, you should do that one." I was like, "Oh, are you sure?" And I was like, "All right." And it's just one of those things that grows on you. Whenever we're editing the podcast or anything like that, it's the one sound we get that instantly puts me in an amazing mood.
And I mean, maybe I'm jumping ahead. I don't know. But like, okay, what if nobody knows this? I feel like I should be the one to say it. Like, I think that this podcast has been a catalyst for you personally. I think you've gone, because I don't know if you know this, guys, but he has gone on like this creativity whirlwind tempest. I don't know other words to describe things that fly around in a frenzy. But he's gone a little weird in the head. and he's coming up, he's got all kinds of stuff.
I was gonna let you gush a lot more on it, but that would definitely make me cry. So like 6-ish months before we started this, like I kind of had that creative twinge where I was like, I need to do something. I always wanted to write. I think you might have read a few of my things like back in college, but I definitely always ran into the lot of like, why would you do that type stuff? Like, why would you try to write a book? Like, you can't write a book. Like, why would you try to write a script? You can't write a script. But like this, I mean, episode, I think it was 2 where we did the zombie bears thing. At that point, I was still trying to like wrap my head around trying to write a book. And we did zombie bears, and I was sitting at work one day over lunch because, like, at lunch you just, it's like, okay, this is my break. I'm gonna go to YouTube and watch all these creative things, and I'm, just absorb this entertainment. And I was thinking about our zombie bears episode. I'm like, that could be a script, and so that got me down the rabbit hole of like, okay, well, let me read this script. Let me do this. It's like I could do this. Like, why can't I do this with our, this idea we came up with? And from there, it's just been like a snowball effect of like, it's a lot of why nots, why not try to do this? So, I don't know, I've written like 3 scripts that probably aren't great, but, I've had a blast doing them. I've bounced a bunch of different ideas off of you of what I want to do.
And I'm saying like this is over the course of a year. Like you're like, oh, three scripts. Whatever, like, had some ideas. And so I just, in 12 months. And I mean, that doesn't, I don't know, maybe some people like, yeah, whatever. Like, I bang out 2 scripts before lunch. Like, yeah, but I mean, this is somebody who's gone from 0 to 100. Like at least once a month. It's, hey, I wrote this. You should look at this. Look at, like I get an email, and it's, hey, you should look at this. Tell me what you think. And I remember the first one for zombie bears. I read that, and I honestly, I was like, holy shit. I was like, there's our stuff. There's ideas we came up with. I was like, and then he figured out a way to justify it. Like, why would there be zombie bears? And why would they dress as Nazis? Totally figured it out. I bought it.
It's been a blast, and I know you're really gonna fucking make me cry now. I should have drank so much. I'm sorry.
Oh God, he's already apologizing.
But I mean, I don't, and like with everything else, like this may not go anywhere with those scripts I'm doing, but for me being like, fuck, why don't I write a script? To like, now I have a new script that, there's people around here and you are like, I'm like, I want to make a movie. Like, why can't I make a movie? I mean, I have an iPad. You can add some attachments to it and make it worthwhile. Like, why don't I do this? And so now there's 15-ish people that are like, yeah, I'll jump on board with you. I'll fuck around for a couple weekends and try and do something. And that already has me down the other path. Like, okay, well, I'll learn a bunch of shit from this. And what I'm going to do next, I'm going to make another fucking movie. It's, I've already got that one in the works, which I sent you this weekend, actually. It's like 55, 60 pages done. And I'm super pumped to get that going.
So over like I'm saying, over the course of 12 months, this is the dude who, he went to work and he would come home and he would, have his, he ate his breakfast and put his socks on one at a time. And he's gone from that to he's creating film. And I mean, it's honestly like if that doesn't, to anybody out there, like if that doesn't, like maybe not inspire, but at the very least, maybe kind of push you a little bit. I mean, it might not be the kick in the ass you needed, but it should be a kick in the ass. So yeah, that's my take.
Hey guys, this is PD from over at Gentleman's Inquiry Podcast. I want to say congratulations on making it to your 1 year anniversary podcast. That's 52 consecutive beavers, bitches. That's awesome. You guys did it. You made it to the 1 year. That's really impressive. And pretty inspirational too. You mean you guys you've stuck with it since the beginning. So what I kind of want to do here is just explain kind of what the Language of Bromance has kind of done for me. So I still do, I guess I should say, listen to a lot of Smodcast. And I've almost gone through the entire library and double listened to a bunch of them. And between that and listening to you guys, it's the reason that I got off my ass and went out and finally started my own podcast. We're on episode 11 this weekend is when we're recording. And it feels good to be doing this. It's fun. You just get together and you bullshit. It's a great time. The reason that you guys are so important in this whole thing is after listening to Smodcast for so long, it was a scenario of, listening to him say, oh, you can do it. Oh, you can do it. Anybody can do it. It's not that hard. Just because I'm famous doesn't mean that I have, priority or anything. It was one of those scenarios where, he says that, but everybody's going to kind of think, maybe he's just blowing smoke. He is in the industry already. Maybe that's what makes it easy for him. And so I had always still just been a little hesitant. I just kind of resisted doing it just because I didn't want to fail and all that kind of stuff. And it seemed unrealistic. So when I stumbled across your guys', it was a really cool thing for me because I was able to be like, wow, these guys took the Kevin Smith model and they literally did exactly what he said. Just do it. Just try. Get out there and do it. So the fact that you guys took that and then made it a practice, you just went out there and made it a real thing. That was just super inspirational to me. And I can guarantee it's the main reason that I am doing this now. And I definitely have to thank you guys for that because I'm having a great time. Like I said before, this has just been a blast already this far. And we're only starting to gain ground now. We're starting to get the groove, getting a better idea of how we're going to do this. And each week it feels a little bit more fresh, a little more loose, and without you guys, we definitely wouldn't be to this point. Week in and week out, you guys make me laugh. Everything is hilarious. Everything from "It's a hot night, shut up" to Jibo taking over somebody's household to the mouse bosoms and the zombie bears and hippos in Ladytown, all that good stuff. I mean, you guys you're always talking about something silly, and it's a lot like podcasting with the Smodcast guys. They're just always bullshitting about bullshit, and it's hilarious. You guys nail it every single week, and then, of course, we even have those drafts going for you, which is a unique and exciting and fun and revitalizing, and it's just got everything going for it. It's just a super cool thing to do. That even me and my friends have started doing it now. We did a Pokemon draft even 2 weeks ago. It was a blast. We were kids of the 90s, products of the 90s, so we wanted to see if we could come up with who had the best team, I guess, who could come up with the best battle team. So in the spirit of the game, we did 6 instead of 7 rounds, but it was still just, it's the third one we've done, I think, and it's just been so goddamn much fun. So I just really want to say congratulations on 3 things. 1, having a great idea with those drafts. That is just awesome. 2, you've made it to 52 episodes. That's really fucking cool. And I know you guys are going to keep going, and I can't wait to hear what comes next. And thirdly, I just want to say congratulations on being some of the most inspirational people in my life, because it means the world. You guys are hilarious. Keep it up. And, I'm going to keep laughing and eating the beaver. Have a great time, guys, and congratulations on 52 episodes. PD out.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think about. I mean, there's 3 scripts that are done. They probably need to be reviewed, and there's a lot of changes that can be made, but it still feels like that nothing's really come of it. I don't think it's really until you've really pointed that out that it's been only less than a year that all this has happened. But it's all on this podcast. I mean, it's got those ideas flowing, that creativity like you're talking about earlier. It's just got those things, that it really just brings to the fact that it's like anybody can do this. Anybody can sit at a computer.
Anybody can not only do this, anybody can do anything.
Oh yeah. I mean, especially in this day and age, if you want to be creative, it's extremely possible. I mean, I'm doing all my shit on Drive, and you can find out templates for scripts. And I'm sure if I take these scripts I've written to somebody who is in the know, they'll be like, "This is fucking garbage." We talked about one of our other.
Well, you know what? I think, but see, that's the thing is, I think that it shouldn't. I think that I think it all depends on your motivation. I mean, when it comes to like something like podcasting or writing a script or making a movie, like we don't. At least, I mean, at least for me, and I think for you with everything, like you don't have the intention of being like, I'm gonna make this and then I'm gonna go to the president of Hollywood. I'm gonna say, Mr. President, I have this movie script here and I'm waiting my movie check, and then the president of Hollywood writes you a check. Like that's not what you're about. Like that's not. I mean, we're not gonna go to the president of podcasting and collect our podcasting check. Like that's not the why. And I think I think that the why should be just do it because you want to. Like, because I mean, why not? Just do it because you want to, and it's fun, and it's and it feels good. Like don't do it for the intention of money, because then you're just gonna piss yourself off.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's helped us a ton in this is, I mean, our first 2 or 3 episodes, like there was absolutely no listens besides what we did. And you could easily be like, well, we didn't make $1 million in the first 3 weeks. Let's just fucking stop doing this.
Right.
I mean, I didn't even really look at the numbers I looked at them, but it wasn't my driving force for us to do this. It was like, oh, hey, it's, Sunday. I need to fucking talk to Rich and make up some story to laugh about, because, if you don't, I mean, it's one of those things that like life is way too serious to not enjoy, like this hour and a half that we get to just sit down, pretend to be fucking Herb and Gert or Adolf and Mr. Sparkles or fucking fighting some goddamn zombie bear. Those are some of the best moments of my life, I would say, is, it's just making up these fun stories. And from that, it's allowed me to be like, why not just make up other stories? I send those scripts to my mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law has been a huge, huge supporter of this show. She doesn't listen because she's not allowed. But she's been a huge supporter of like the stuff I've done in this podcast, and I think she bought like 3 of our shirts that we tried to sell. I don't know if she's gonna wear any of them, but she did buy some.
She did buy. That's the point. The point is that there is no. The point is that it's not like it. It shouldn't be about trying to get some sort of fame and fortune. I mean, for me, it's just I wanna do this, and I wanna I want to do it, and I want to do it well. And if something, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to turn down opportunity. I mean, if opportunities come around, that's great. But and should I go and try and seek opportunities? Of course, because I mean, why not? There's nothing wrong with knocking on the door of opportunity, but don't get discouraged because it's not answering.
Well, you and I have talked off mic before. I mean, unless something comes in that says you guys cannot do this unless, like television or something like that, where like you have to spend ungodly amount of money to podcast. Our plan, and even if they do that, you and I will probably still record these because I fucking laugh like nonstop whenever we do these. We're going to be doing this for a long freaking time. Like, there's no reason for us not to. It's a phone call. It's us talking. Nothing's really going to stop us from doing this unless, some kind of government agency or something comes in and basically puts a cap on who can podcast and who can't, which I don't know if that's even possible.
I don't think it is. It's not. It's two people talking on microphones and then it's people putting audio out on the internet. If you're gonna regulate that, then you're gonna have to regulate YouTube and
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's that's the whole rub of it is you're just putting your recordings, your voice and putting it out on the internet. And I mean, fuck it. I say fuck it. All right.
So
shit's getting heavy.
So I keep looking at my record and it's like, oh shit, it's 51 minutes and I've got so much to say still about this. I don't know if that's me or the alcohol. Who knows?
Hey, this is Alex
This is Anthony.
from the Angry Beards podcast. We want to wish Richard and Sean a happy
Maniversary.
Maniversary.
1 year. Sorry, I ran over all over that. We've had a few drinks. We're listening to some sensual tunes. A lot of bromance going on.
Bromance. We were some bromosexuals ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All praise be to Broden.
A lot of people have said that the Language of Bromance is our doppelganger podcast, which I'm okay with that.
As long as I'm more handsome than 3 people out of this group.
That's probably the truth. But hey, we want to wish you guys a happy 1 year.
Keep it going. We love you guys. Take good care of each other. Use lube and not super glue.
Happy anniversary, Richard and Sean of Language of Bromance. Here's to another great year from Andrew
and Bernadette
from the AB Film Review. Looking forward to seeing what you do over the next year. Have a great anniversary.
Cheers, mate.
Hey, what's going on, guys? John here, wanting to congratulate you on 1 year of podcasting. You guys have been doing a great job, been laughing at every episode, and there's a reason why I asked you guys to be a part of the Pod Bros Network. I'm glad that we've been able to go throughout most of the year together in this partnership. Richard and Sean, keep doing what you're doing. Thanks a lot, guys. Love your show. Congratulations once again, and here's to another year of podcasting.
But I mean, you talk about, I was really wanting to talk about just some, like you said, the doors that open. So when we started this, you and I had kind of mentioned a little bit, like, do we want to just be our own podcast, or do we want to start a podcast network, or like, what's our thoughts on this? And I don't remember at what point, it was one of our goals was to either join a podcast network or create our own. And just, when you get into kind of the indie podcast world, you kind of indirectly meet a lot of people, and we came across.
Just like on Twitter, social networking, like you just end up like kind of you find yourself like having. It's kind of like honestly, I kind of put it like akin to like ham radio, where ham radio operators had this like inner circle with other ham radio operators. And that was their shtick. That was like the thing that they did together.
Yeah, and I can't remember. I mean, I started following a few different podcast networks to just kind of be like, okay, let's see what these guys are about. And about 3-ish months into us actually releasing podcast, I contacted the network we're on right now, Pod Bros. I contacted John out there, and I was like, hey, just curious about, blah, 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 what do you need from us? What will we get from you kind of thing? And kind of played that like internet dating type stuff or email dating.
Yeah.
And I would say that besides, I mean, it's crazy to think like the friendship that you and I have. I mean, we've kind of built a pretty awesome relationship with the guys at Pod Bros. These guys we've never even actually physically met.
I was gonna say, like, we've never actually seen any of these people in person, and that's slightly odd. It's this weird like clandestine Craigslist kind of love affair, and it's yeah, who doesn't love a love affair on Craigslist? Wow.
Yeah, I mean we did a episode with John on the Guy Huddle, which was pretty cool, and that was the first time we actually even talked to him. And I remember when we got everything set up on Pod Bros, or he says like, yeah, I'd love to have you as part of the network. you and I were both kind of like, well, do they know something about us that we don't? Because I think there's only about six.
Yeah.
There's like 6 or 7 episodes or 6 or 7 podcasts on that network. So I mean, we really kind of got on.
Yeah, and I mean, we weren't even. Yeah, like we weren't even like 20 episodes in. I don't think we were even like 15 in.
Yeah, it was before the teens.
And so I was, I mean, I think both of us were kind of like, well, like they've only heard just this little bit. Like, what if we, like suck for the next like 5 or 6?
Which is funny because it's like, listen, this dude doesn't know he's got a gold mine about ready to explode. But that's the discussions we had. It's like, oh my God, what if we're like on the cusp of being like the next Smodcast?
And we still are. We're on the cusp.
But yeah, so we joined Pod Bros about October 15-ish, around that time. I mean, so we've been on Pod Bros longer than we've been like or we've had more episodes on Pod Bros than we have before we were on Pod Bros, if you will. And the guys over there, John, Dave, all those guys that we've talked to, I mean, it's, I'm excited for the day that we can kind of do like a group meeting type thing, because I think that's kind of helped us even more so.
Yeah, we meet them, and then we could like, hey, we could hang out. We could play party games together, like
Twister. All right, Dave, red, head, and green.
Yeah, blue, left hand, blue.
It's like you guys play by yourself. You're kind of creeping us out. Hey, we after we met, we checked the Pod Bro site, and Language of Bromance wasn't on there anymore.
All that's there is a YouTube video of us playing Twister.
Oh man, I don't know how the fuck we got here, but this is awesome.
Oh, plus once we got on the network, we got the added bonus of recording ads.
Oh, so yeah. Okay, let's talk about that. So the spots that we have in front of our podcast, I don't remember. I think I came up with kind of the ideas for what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down, like, so you listen to episode like 0, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4. You and I were kind of, you can tell we're kind of like nervous and not really sure what we needed to do. It's just very awkward, I think, in the opening, but then we kind of get.
I think every podcast does that though. Like I've heard a lot of them where it's where it's the first like 2 or 3 episodes. Like it's almost like you're trying to kind of like find your voice.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could say this about almost any podcast. I could say this about any podcast out there. Like the first 2 or 3 episodes, I mean, if you would compare them to, compare episode, 1 or 2 to episode 53 to, and then jump to like 90 something, like they're night and day. Because I think even people that have, have done this for a living, like talking into a microphone, like let's say they had a career in radio or something like that, like it seems almost like they need to like find their own voice.
I think at first you just kind of feel like almost like a Deutschbag speaking into a microphone, because I did like 8 episodes of a podcast with my wife just to kind of like test the water. So I kind of had a little bit of like, okay, this is my voice. But even then, like just doing our own show, you just feel really goofy to be like, who am I to talk into a mic? I've never done this before. I'm just a Joe Schmo. What does this mean for me to do this? You almost expect somebody to like look in the window and be like, hey, is that a mic in your mouth? Fucking douchebag.
Look at you. That's stupid. You're stupid.
Well, this is the Language of Bromance. I'll see you later. Wah, wah.
And then you Eeyore your way out of the room. So, but yeah, so considering that, now we're doing like actual like, radio ads. I guess that would be the only, like these promo spots. And then it's even weirder because you're like, I mean, we didn't really have like a script that we stuck to, but it was just kind of like, okay, well, you say this, then I'll say this, and well, okay, let's try that, and then we go. Like, then it adds a whole new level. Then it's like, holy shit, like it's almost like am I an actor? Am I an actor now?
Well, I remember at that point we're about 20-ish episodes, I think, and I think we kind of found our voice. We found our groove with doing this. And then we're like, okay, well, let's do these intro spots. And I remember, like, the first thing I said to you when we started, like, it's like right before we hit record, I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm more nervous doing this than I am recording an episode.
Yeah.
But I listened to, like, our Star Wars one or the Turtles one so much. Like, if I'm having a shitty day, I just hit play on that for 30 seconds, and I'm laughing my ass off, even to this day.
Oh, If anybody's curious, the lasers and the ships in the background, that would be Sean's voice. Because we did the spot and then afterwards he starts making that noise and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I'm like getting in the headspace. You get ships flying around, they're like pew, 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 pew. And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna put that in there. He's like, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna lay it into the promo. I was like, so then it'll all be in there. I was like, it's gonna be people talking, and then you're gonna hear me in the background going pew 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 pew.
Oh man, I had so much fun doing that, and like shit like that. Like if we didn't do this, that would have never existed. I mean, somebody maybe somewhere, but you and I wouldn't have been able to create that and be like, hey, we made laser noises and made each other laugh for 20 minutes.
We made laser noises and let perfect strangers listen to them.
Oh shit! Oh, this episode went like completely like opposite of what I thought it was.
Well, that's what happens. That's usually what happens.
That's true.
It's always. So what do you want to talk about? Oh, I got this one thing I want to mention. Okay, and then it starts there, and then we go from that to robots with giant metal dicks and dinosaurs that are coming to take over the earth, and
Sasquatches who are
zombie bears that are dressed as Nazis.
So I guess when we're starting all this kind of off, you're talking about like you kind of peek through some of the episodes. So if do you have your go-to episode or like what are some of your favorite episodes of ours so far?
In recent memory, I'm gonna have to go with Jurassic World.
Okay.
Where we were talking about the dinosaurs that came to Earth. And there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a giant fishbowl head. So there's that. I mean, I will say one thing that it seems like people really like them, which I'm kind of surprised about, is people really like it when we hate each other. They like it when bros become foes.
I was wanting to kind of bring that. So this was an idea I had. I'm pretty sure I talked to you about this before we even recorded our first episode. Because my thought was a lot of podcasts, if you keep going in the same thing, like you don't really expect anything different. So it's like, oh, they're going to be talking about, zombie bears, or they're going to be making up stories. I was like, well,
right.
Why don't we throw in these drafts? Every 2 times every 10 episodes, let's do a draft. And I wasn't sure how it would go, but we did our first one, and I'd have to say those are some of the most fun episodes that we have.
Yeah, I would agree with that. For me, my favorite draft that cartoon draft we just recently did was really I really liked.
Yeah. Superpower draft was probably one of my favorites. That was a blast.
There was the hero draft. The hero draft was always. It seemed like for the comic stuff, it was always it's always a race to see who picks Batman first.
In any kind of draft, it's what Batman can I get first. Yeah, because our first draft was the villain draft, I believe. Yeah, the villain draft, episode 3.
That one, I will say, that one probably is one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was episode, because we try to do drafts on the 3s and the 8s. So on episode like 23, 28, 33, 38. One of the thoughts I had before is what we would do, and this is kind of going to one of our failures, which actually wasn't a fail. I haven't gone back and listened to it, but I thought in like 1 through 10, we would do a draft. And then I thought, well, why not through 10 through 20, instead of doing drafts, we do movie commentary.
Yeah.
And we did Big Trouble in Little China, which was the first time I ever saw it. But if you go back to listen to that episode, it's a lot of, hey, watch this part. It's funny. Silence. That is funny. But I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that was more an excuse for me to get you to watch that movie.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
But yeah, our drafts really.
I love that movie.
It was a good flick. It was a lot of fun. And I mean, what happened like a month or two after that? The Ninja Turtles did like a spoof on Big Trouble in Little China. So if we didn't do this podcast, I would have never got that reference.
Yeah. You're welcome.
So we have the drafts, which have been awesome. They're kind of going off of that. We've had, I think, at least 2 people contact us and be like, hey, from listening to your show, it kind of sparked us to be like, well, why the fuck don't we do a podcast? Maybe it's a backhand compliment. It's like, well, if these 2 fuckers,
right? Like, if these fuckers can do it.
Like, listen, I was listening to your shit, and I was like, well, if these 2 douchebags can do this, why can't we? So we did.
Fuck those guys. I bet I could do better in the first one. And you know what? You're probably right.
This is Raymond Evans and my co-host,
Michael Fairweather,
from the SciDef Cybersecurity Podcast. And we want to say congratulations to the Language of Bromance on their 1-year anniversary. Keep up the funnies.
Hi, Richard and Sean. This is Erin Jordan, and I was just calling because I just wanted to congratulate you on your 1-year anniversary of the Language of Bromance podcast, which I just want to say I absolutely look forward to every single time. I'd have to say the drafts are probably my favorite. It's funny because you never know whose side I'm going to go for, and I love the surprise of the fact that I think I'm going to go one way, and then somebody pulls the rug out, or somebody stakes a claim. But I love the fact that you guys are always considerate of the other's uber favorite, and I just think that's pretty awesome as fellow nerds that geek out on stuff like that, to be considerate of others' feelers. And that's why I listen, and it makes me want to be a better friend. And I'm not a bro, but I have a lot of bros. So thanks for putting out such a great podcast. And it's funny. I can text it all I want or tweet it all I want, but I can't say it. Eat the beaver.
But yeah, so people like the drafts, but the other episodes. Here's the thing, and we've said it before. It's always, so what do you want to talk about? Oh, I got this thing I want to talk about. Okay, and then that's it. Like, it's not like, okay, I'm gonna say this, and then you say like this is I would say that this show is the epitome of unscripted.
We kind of come up with like ideas, and that's what's funny is the best episodes. I think of like Raiders of Lost Stuff. I don't think I really had anything for that, and we go off on this complete tangent of George Lucas floating around in a pool, getting drunk while he hires some dude to dress as Jar Jar Binks. We come in with like a general idea, and a lot of times it's one of those things we come in and we're like, well, I've got this little story that might take a few minutes, and that's when we go off on these awesome tangents that make me laugh, for hours, even afterwards. I've said this before. My favorite thing about doing these shows, besides going back and listening to them, is when I go and I show my wife this episode, like I'll listen to it, and the first thing she says when she hears it kick on, she's like, "Oh my God, I do not want to listen to this right now." And and 5 minutes into it, she's like, "That's funny," and then like something will happen. I'll either put my headphones in or we'll be heading out. She's like, "No, pause it. I want to hear the rest of it." Those are the best things ever. I mean, if we never do anything with this besides make 1 million episodes just for us, hearing my wife laugh at them has been ideal.
Yeah. I've played them. I've played them for my wife, and she likes them. She finds them funny. But the one thing that is kind of like I kind of throw me off. Like I don't know how I should feel about this. Is sometimes when out of nowhere, my oldest daughter will come to me and ask me a question about the show. Because then I'm like, holy shit. Like, you could listen to this. I have children. That could listen to this.
Well, I think it was maybe last time we talked or something. You told me about, like, your daughter listens to Smodcast a little bit. And you'll say, like, she'll laugh, and then I don't know if you said you told me, like, you'll ask her, like, hey, what you listening to? And she's like, oh, I'm listening to Smodcast. And then, like, a day or two later, you'll hear her laugh, like, the exact same way. You're like, what are you listening to? And she's like, oh, I'm listening to your podcast.
Yeah. I can't remember what bit she was laughing at. I think she was laughing at you failing to call, failing to know where Thai people came from.
Okay, so she wasn't laughing at our podcast. She was laughing like, your buddy Sean is a real dumbass.
It's like Thailand.
He's like, are you sure he's editing this? Like, are you sure his wife isn't the one putting these together?
See, now I'm just honestly, it's funny because like I don't need, like, to a point, like I don't even need to listen to the episodes. I can just look at the titles and I'm like, oh, I remember that. Yeah. It's like looking through a photo album.
Yeah.
Hippos in Ladytown.
It's like, oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Loch Ness Rim. Oh yeah, big metal dicks. I remember that.
Yeah, robots with giant metal dicks. Who doesn't love a robot with a giant metal dick? And and a society of advanced Bigfoots. Big feet.
Oh my God, that's got to be one of my favorite episodes. What's wrong, little human? I mean, it's funny because, I mean, a lot of these episodes I can go back and like remember like where I was sitting when we recorded them. And you think like episode like 10, 15, 22, to think that we would be at 53 episodes at some point is just ridiculous to even think of.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first started this, I know you and I both was like, why the fuck didn't we start this earlier? I mean, we could be at like 250 episodes. And I wonder if that's kind of what stopped us, because it's like, well, we're not at 250 episodes right now. Why start? And
right.
If we kept that kind of thought process, we would have never started this. And you could scroll down this list, give me more quarters would not be existing. Any of these drafts, the Brazilian flop switch, Bros in Space, Hot Mic, My Undateable Dick, Hello Dave, one of our early episodes where I got to bitch about the turtles the day the turtles died. These things would not exist if we just didn't say, I don't fucking care if nobody listens. I hope people listen. I hope they enjoy it.
That's true. Nobody would know that sometimes, a robot with a giant metal dick can be funny.
But it's an American robot.
Or that there is this like honestly, I like to think that we're being educational. Like, holy crap, there's a spray that I can get I can make sex better by just a little spritz, little marijuana spritz, just
it's a little lube. Spray it down there and get the downstairs going.
Yeah. Get the tinglies.
So I've been talking. Is there kind of any other stuff you're kind of want to add that you wanted to bring to this show, to this episode?
No, I mean, like, we talked about like like we got our favorite, at least some of my favorite moments, and a retelling of the origin story, and yeah, I mean, honestly, I wonder if people are gonna listen. I still wonder the same thing. Like, are people gonna actually listen to this one? Because this isn't us talking about robots with giant metal dicks and hippos in Ladytown.
They get 10 minutes and it's like, geez, guys, stop blowing each other. We
Oh,
say something
Jesus,
funny.
Get off each other's dicks for fuck's sake. Honey, they're blowing each other. You owe me $5. So I mean, are we finishing it off? If we're finishing off, I'm gonna say that here's to 52 more.
Oh, fucking right, dude. I mean, I hope that we do 104 straight episodes. That's the goal. I look forward to these conversations we have. I hope everybody that listens, enjoys them. If anything from this episode, I mean, yeah, it is, you and I kind of blowing each other a little bit. Hopefully in episode 104 we won't. We probably will, but, whatever.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you. First off, there's a lot of people I want to thank, but I really want to thank you for doing this show with me, because without you, this wouldn't exist. Without us both being like, let's do this thing, it would be so easy for somebody like, let's just do this in a couple weeks. But you've helped me whenever I've been like, I'm not in the mood to do this, to go ahead and go forward and do this, because you have a bad day at work, you have just a bad day in general. It's easy to be like, I don't feel like trying to be funny. I just want to go lay down and relax. But you have.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think it's, like, I think that's one thing to have like another person with you doing this. It's like, it's kind of like, I don't want to let you down and you don't want to let me down. And so we kind of like prop each other up in that way.
Yeah, exactly. I know there's been times you've come in where you're like, I'm not really feeling it. And those are probably some of our best episodes. There's days I'm like, I don't fucking feel like doing this. And I am just laughing ridiculously about stupid stuff. And, like you said a little bit earlier, that's helped, this podcast has helped me do things that in a million years I would have never thought I would be able to do. Hopefully that keeps going for the next year, next 2 years, next 3 years. I don't know where this is going to take us, but if it's just where we're at right now, this has been a $1 million success without the $1 million.
We're getting there, damn it. There's a check in the mail from the president of podcasting.
The check's going to bounce, but
it's Adam Carolla.
I'm going to tweet out a thank you to a lot of people that follow us very early. The guys who have mentioned us, that they said, hey, you're the reason we decided to do this. There's a couple people that have done that. John at Pod Bros, I really want to thank him for bringing us on and being like, hey, your show doesn't suck balls enough that we can't have it on our network. So, I want to thank him. But again, Richard, I really, really want to thank you. I don't want to come off as too gay or too bromancy, but, you are one of my best friends in the world, and I love you. And, like I said, this is the most fun I've had in the last year than I could say I've had in my whole life.
Well, I mean, right back at you. I mean, honestly, I feel like you are the driving force behind this whole thing. I don't know if people know this, sometimes, I mean, we edit the podcast. I mean, obviously we do, because we're in different places, and so things need to come together to become one seamless thing. Sean's the one that takes the time and does that. Honestly, I mean, for me, I feel like I just show up and talk. I feel like I have the easy job. So, I mean, if we're throwing out thanks, definitely right back at you. And at the risk of sounding, a bit too homoerotic, you're an awesome human being, and thank you for giving me a outlet for a piece of me that I forgot I had. I guess, to a degree.
I wish I knew how to quit you. So yeah, we're gonna have some people that kind of contact us and kind of wished us an awesome 52 happy anniversary, happy Broniversary or whatever. So we want to thank you guys. You're gonna hear those throughout the episode. You've already heard them probably, but we want to thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. Like we said, we are surprised to this day that anybody but Richard and I listen to this show. So thank you guys so much for all your tweets, all your buying our shirts,
all your tweets, all your likes on Facebook, your emails, your reviews, like any sort of feedback. Like I know that the old adage is don't look at stuff on the internet like about you, but nobody follows that. We all do. And so like we read everything, we look at everything, we send each other copies of everything, and we either go, oh, or we go, hey.
It's like, holy shit, somebody actually listened to us. That's, not my mom.
Look, it's a person. I don't think it's a bot.
Oh shit. But yeah, I guess this might be a good point to throw in. It's funny, we said like, hey, let's make this episode short since we have a lot of people kind of giving us stuff, and this will probably be our longest episode ever. Which I could keep going. I'm not gonna lie, but I guess this is probably a good time to throw in some Richard's closing thoughts. If you want to go ahead and throw those out.
To everyone that listens, to my hetero life mate, to my own wife, my non-hetero life mate, she's the one I sleep with. It's awesome. It's fun. It's awesome. It's fun to do, and the fact that we're standing here after 12 months and 53 episodes, 52 plus hours, like, and the silly thing of it is that not only can anyone do this, but I regret that it didn't happen years ago. I wish it was episode 552, but that's what happens when you talk yourself out of shit. So yeah, that's it. I'm done. We're done here.
Well, in 10 years we will be at that 520 mark, so I'm excited for that point. Kind of tag on, like, I want to thank Tiffany and Tiffany's mom, which maybe I'll just send her this part of our episode so she can hear that a little bit. But everybody that's been supportive for us, family, friends, thank you guys very much. If you're still listening, I'm sure some of them have listened to like episode 1 through 5 and like, yeah, these guys aren't funnies, or it's embarrassing to listen to. But if you're listening to this, thank you guys very much. We really appreciate it. And I will do one of my favorite things ever. I will do a little bit of housekeeping.
Yeah.
So
I hope everybody has made it to the end. We're taking our mouths off each other's dicks now.
They've turned in. It's like, are they done jerking each other off? Okay, I'll listen to this housekeeping. Like, they got to be chaffed if it's been an hour 20 some minutes and they're still jerking each other off.
Like they're skipping forward every like 15 minutes. Like, God damn it!
Fucking stamina.
No, God, fuck.
All right. Well, visit our website. It's languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter at languageofbro. Shoot us an email at eatthebeaver@languageofbromance.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe and leave a review on iTunes and Stitcher.
And also, don't forget to check us out on the Pod Bros Network,
the best podcast site on the internet.
For the last 8 months.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to do before we close her out? Anything you want to wipe off your chest or back?
No. We've made people suffer enough. I promise next week will be funny. I'll bring the funny.
All right. Well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I am Sean.
And I am Richard.
And I say we, for the 53rd time, that we eat the beaver! Beaver, beaver, beaver. Hey, Richard.
Wow, you're drunk.
I love you.
Wow, you're drunk.
Fucking shit.